Hello and welcome back to the Weekend Spread. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, we've got, as always, Jameson Maxwell, Ty Lee, and the captain himself, Bowden Blake. We're here to break down week 12 of college football. We are at the end here. Only 2 more weeks of the regular season left, and the weeks are getting tight here for the Weekend Spread. Before we dive in, I want to take a quick look at our leaderboard. Jameson has reclaimed the lead at 62 and 51. Bowden Blake dropped down to 62 and 52. Jameson is up by nature of not having used his pot of greed yet, so he can invoke that at any time. I'm sitting here at 59 and 55, and Ty is perfectly at 500 at 57 and 57. Overall, guys, it's anybody's game, but Blake, I gotta say, you were in the lead, dipped down one. Are you feeling good? How are we feeling right now?
I'm not worried. Jameson has his pot of greed. Probably going to be an automatic L. I know he's probably going to wait till championship week and use it on the FCS playoffs or something like that.
That
But
sounds
I'm
fun.
I'm I all I need is that loss and I'm back in the tied for the lead. So I ain't worried.
Jameson's like, I really like Stetson. I'm really big on
Well,
Stetson.
to be honest with you, I feel like I've been trying to find a pot of greed every single week, an extra game to pick, but Blake really pushing this narrative that I want to wait on the FCS championships. Ooh, now that kind of sounds fun. You talk about sicko mode. I'm going to be full on. I think that would be a lot of fun. You're almost instigating me to do this.
Jameson uses his pot of greed like in the middle of like bowl season somehow. And that wouldn't make sense. But anyways, Ty, how you feeling this week? A bit of a weird week in college football. Some shakeups going on in your favorite conference in Pac-12. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling confident. The time to worry has yet to set in, and still at 500. We all had a legendarily bad week last week, at least by Schooner Pod 2022 standards, all going below 500. But yeah, we're doing great as a pod, and we got some fun content. So I'm excited.
Hey, we three of us would have been 500 if Oregon didn't. It just wasn't around. We would have been fine, but your Duckies had to just go and blow it at home. But hey, look. Speaking of the Ducks, they have a really tough challenge right away. They're hosting the Utah Utes, favored by 3. By the way, all lines provided by DraftKings Sportsbook, our very proud partner here. And yeah, this is a little bit of a weird position here. So let's go ahead and dive into the slate. No time to waste. Jameson, as the leader in the clubhouse, you kick us off here. Do you think Bo Nix and the Ducks find a way to kind of bounce back here, get a win against that really tough, tricky Utah defense?
This is tough. I'm really struggling with it because I feel like that last game versus Washington leaves like a weird taste in my mouth. I thought the Oregon, kind of botching things as of recently was gone, and they looked pretty dominant. And then Washington, a team we really didn't think much of, kind of handled them the whole game. Can I pick push again? I like push, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go on Oregon's side here. Pick the push, Oregon by 3.
Blake, your thoughts?
Yep, I'm going the opposite. I chose Utah to win the Pac-12 coming into this season, and surprisingly, I still have a chance to do that this weekend. And Oregon-Utah, basically, winner of this is going to the Pac-12 championship. Loser is most likely going home. The thing about Oregon, I'm not even looking to last week versus Washington. That could be a fluky performance, but Dan Lanning came out and said that they're pretty dinged up. He wasn't specific about who, but a lot of people are saying Bo Nix could be really dinged up. Their offensive line could be. That spells trouble against a really solidly fundamental team like Utah. If Bo Nix can't go, Ty Thompson, their backup, has only taken 21 snaps this year, even though they've been up in games by multiple possessions, just because I think they've gone all in on Bo Nix trying to win the Heisman, that they haven't given their backups really any sort of snaps. So if I get an injured Bo Nix or Ty Thompson as a go, I would hate to be on Oregon right here. And just the fact that Oregon's defense shoves against really bad teams in the Pac-12, but has really struggled against the good competition all year. I like Utah. I feel pretty confident about this one.
Yeah, that it's tricky
That
because
hurts. I didn't know about the Bo Nix injury. I might have to use a good old mulligan here before you start, Bobby.
We don't see. That's the thing. He was so cryptic about it. We don't know. He just said we're dinged up, and they're like, "Who?" And he was like, "I'm not going to go into that." Which a lot of people are saying it probably is Bo Nix, but we don't know. We just don't know.
Well, Nix was did get kicked out. Was out of the game last week and came back.
Do
but
we even
at the
know
same
what
time,
body part?
I'm trying to look it up right now.
It's because it's not here in this.
They're looking at his lower leg
an injury.
in the
it's like a leg injury. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going over to Utah. I'm not liking this.
It's ankle. Yeah, I think it's an ankle.
Yeah, he's still gonna be hobbled with it. And Bo Nix's mobility is what makes him special. I think this can be too tough to go against Utah with +3. I'm mulliganing it for my one of the year.
I think that's a very, very smart, good mulligan because I was all in on Oregon here before hearing about Nix. Utah's defense, while it is good, it's been torched by some of the better offenses in the Pac-12, like USC, UCLA. They did end up beating USC, but still a lot of points put up on them. But without Nix, this thing I just do not trust that Oregon offense at all. So I'm riding with the Utes +3 here.
So I think there's an important point noticing. I follow the Ducks a little bit more than you guys, obviously, because when we look back at the Washington performance, what you guys point out is, they failed at home, really disappointing performance against a Washington team. That's their big rivalry game. If this were Texas Tech, TCU's main rival, or Texas or Oklahoma
Oregon
State
State's
for
their
OU.
biggest rival, right?
Yeah, well,
Oregon State, TCU hate each other.
The one that actually has a name to the rivalry, which I don't know if
this is a big, but it's a big game, and they were facing the quarterback that is still leading the nation in yardage. So this one is rough to look at because I look at that game and then I look at the Georgia game, but I don't put as much weight in the Washington game. It's anything can happen in that one. Also, when I look at Utah, the Bo Nix injury obviously is a big question mark, but Utah has really struggled against any sort of competent quarterback that they faced. Obviously, they lost to UCLA with DTR. They barely beat USC, but they let them put up 40-plus points. And then, of course, who can forget when they let one of the worst starting quarterbacks, probably the only guy worse than Dylan Gabriel that's starting at the quarterback position, Anthony Richardson, do a 360 no-look jump pass for a touchdown against this defense. So for that reason, I will be riding with my Oregon Ducks. I think you can make the arguments about Utah being a more fundamental team. All you're saying is that they have no stars and they just kind of work together and achieve above their station. Oregon is also a fundamental team. Obviously, there's some bias here, and I do have to change things up, picking a little differently. But I feel like even a Bo Nix with a potential ankle injury, or with their backup quarterback, Ty Thompson, who is a freshman, but he is 6'4", 230, and a guy that can move it around sometimes. So I'm not too worried about my Ducks. I like the Ducks -3 in this one.
You also got to support a fellow Ty there, so.
So another note on Bo Nix, obviously he could just play if it's just simple little ankle sprain. It looks like he returned to the game last week, so I wouldn't be surprised if he does play. But this dude has a past of breaking the other ankle and multiple other ankle sprains on that right ankle that he did allegedly hurt in that game. That's just spooky for me. I'm staying away from that. If I'm just betting in general, that's just not value for me.
I think that's fair. I think
that's
a live bet.
Yeah, and it's like Bo Nix not healthy, like that limits the running game significantly, and that's really what has been good for Oregon in the red zone, that Bo Nix can scramble, get you touchdowns. If that's eliminated, that's scary. Like just having a pocket presence, Bo Nix trying to win you a game, I just don't like that. I don't like that for a very evenly matched team in Utah.
I do want to say Ty Thompson is a dual threat guy. And I would argue he certainly cannot pass to Bo Nix's level. I'd argue that he's a little bit better runner, actually. If you look at the stats, it's hard to tell, obviously, because he doesn't have the play time against big teams. But we're talking about a way bigger dude that is not injury prone. Point of concern with Ty Thompson, though, is that he is from Gilbert, Arizona, and we all know about Arizona quarterbacks.
Oh,
Fair enough.
Whoa.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Oh no. That's funny. That's funny. All right, moving on to the crosstown rivalry in Los Angeles, the mecca of college football. We have the USC Trojans on the road to take on their bitter rival, the UCLA Bruins. This one is a sellout, meaning that they sold out all the seats that are not covered by tarps. So, big game here, big game for the Trojans, big game for the Bruins, who kind of botched it last week against Arizona. But nonetheless, this is a solid Pac-12 matchup. All right, Ty, you kick us off here. Who do you like?
Yeah.
Do you like the Trojans? You like? Yeah, you go ahead. I'm
Bobby, why do I have a text from you at 4:02 saying slate locked with USC -2,
Oh my
and then
God,
you throw up a 2.5 up here? What is that? Interference with the line once again.
I say
sure
keep it.
It has moved.
I probably
Keep
typed
it.
it in wrong.
No,
it's
we
two,
locked
it's
the
2 on the
slates.
spreadsheet currently as well. So this is definitely just a typo on Bobby's end.
I botched the
No,
graphic.
yeah,
I botched
yeah,
the
when
graphic.
when he gets called
Botched.
out, it's a botch. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
I always get called
Stop
out.
the
What are you
steal.
talking about?
Stop the steal.
It's
Okay.
also
I-
-2 on DraftKings as well.
Yeah.
I also used the
Okay.
wrong yellow on the little doodad next to the USC logo. But no one cares about that.
As Bobby fixes this, I can see this one moving to 2. I'm honestly surprised that it's this low. Obviously, USC, I think they lost their main running back, didn't they, last week? This is how much I watch USC. But this is Lincoln Riley versus UCLA and DTR. We all know how that goes. And I think that USC has the star power to carry this one through. I kind of got on the UCLA train a little bit earlier in the season, and then I got burned on it. I don't think I've been burned at all going with USC. They've been a very reliable team against the spread, at least when I've gone with them. I don't know what that stat is overall, but for those reasons, I am taking USC -2. I would have taken a -2.5, I guess, if I had to, but our wonderful sponsors at DraftKings still have them at -2. So I will be taking the Trojans in this one, even without their running back.
Fair enough. Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead, switch that graphic over. Oh, look at that yellow. So much better. Much better yellow. So, look, I think that USC all season long has kind of been skating by because Caleb Williams papers over a lot of issues. As does the turnover ratio. They are currently first in the country, plus 18 on the turnovers, which is unreal. So
Grinch.
here's it's just like everything was with Lincoln, Grinch, Caleb, etc. Caleb covers over a lot of issues. But the more and more you pick away at that offense, take away Jordan Addison. Even though he's back, he's not quite himself. Did not look great against Colorado, but in Colorado. Now you take out Dye. It's starting to become a little too much. Here's the thing: they're not playing Arizona, they're not playing Cal. They're playing a UCLA team coached by a very competent Chip Kelly, a very, very good offensive mind, and DTR is pretty good. Both DTR and Kelly have experience against Lincoln Riley. Now, granted, wasn't the best. They got kind of their ass kicked, but this is a better UCLA team than the ones we saw there. I personally think this is going to be too much for Caleb Williams to cover up by himself, and I think UCLA bounces back after that bad loss, gets the win in the Rose Bowl, and takes out USC from playoff contention here. So give me the Bruins +2. Blake?
Yeah, this is kind of one of those Jameson push games because I could see this one being really close. I think both offenses are electric for different reasons. UCLA just keeping it on the ground with Charbonnet and DTR has been super successful for them this season, and then USC, you just know they have offensive weapons everywhere. And I don't care if Travis Dye went down. I don't care if Jordan Addison's a little hobbled. they have guys, and they ultimately have Caleb Williams, who right now is playing like one of the best quarterbacks in America. I'm going to go USC, though. I think coaching edge, you got to give it to Lincoln Riley. Quarterback edge, you give it to Caleb Williams. I think both of these defense suck. Like, USC, we knew that from the beginning. They've kind of just gotten ran all over, relied on the turnovers, but UCLA like started out the season pretty good, but if you look at their last few games, like struggling against Utah, Oregon, Arizona State, Arizona, and two of those being kind of the top tier programs within the Pac-12, I think a lot of points are going to get scored. I don't think there's going to be many stops in this game, so I just got to look at the offensive pieces, and I just think USC has the edge right there, so I'm going to take the Trojans.
All right, Jameson, you going to make me an island boy with the Bruins?
I've really thought about UCLA really hard, but then I kind of like went over and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go with my gut because I really need to look more into this. And it seems like the teams that have been giving USC's defense issue, because that's what I really think comes down to. Can USC stop them just a little bit for Caleb Williams to kind of take over this game? Seems like people have just been passing on them 300, 400 plus yards. Like Jack Plummer, like lit them up, USC secondary. But I don't see like these running backs having these 100+ yard games. It seems like it's really their secondary that's giving up a lot of their yards. And that puts a lot on DTR's shoulders. I feel like they'd rather control the game and the tempo with Zach Charbonnet. And I just feel like if you're playing that type of game, I feel like USC is going to squeak it out. So I'm going to go SC.
That's fair. I think that's fair. All right. I'm fine being an island boy there. I feel good about UCLA. So let's move on to the big nude kickoff game of the week. It's the Illinois Fighting Illini.
Not big nude.
What? It's not big nude? It's on ABC?
No. TCU Baylor is big nude, my boy.
You've angered the frog.
The big boy is going to come get you, Bobby.
Oh, yeah. The kaiju frog is going to come after me for disparaging the importance of TCU Baylor. Got it. My apologies. All right, so regular nude Saturday, Illinois Fighting Illini on the road at the Big House to take on the Michigan Wolverines, who are favored by 18. Jameson, potential look-ahead spot for the Wolverines here? The games next week? Senior day? I don't know. What do you think?
Ugh. Why are you making me do this? This is just such a nasty line. I have to speculate about 18 points. I almost said F it. F it. Essentially, we're going to pick backdoor cover Illinois. I just like you said, looking ahead, and Michigan hasn't been as potent as recently, and I don't know. Illinois is mad because they just lost last week. Whatever. Screw this. Plus 18.
Like,
I'm going to go Michigan. I hate this. Michigan is the biggest fraud team in the entire country. The fact that they are ranked number 3, and if you look at their schedule, take out Penn State, and it's a whole bunch of nobodies. Might as well be playing an FCS schedule, but yet everybody in America is clamoring over this team. Oh, Blake Corum. Blake Corum has like 200 more yards than Kendre Miller for TCU, which we don't use probably enough as we should, and he has like 30-40% more carries. It's ridiculous. I don't get why he's in the Heisman contention. He's a good running back, sure, but nothing special, nothing that you can't find in other teams across America. This Michigan team is so overrated, but they set up their schedule perfectly because basically it's just win or go home versus Ohio State, and they will get that. So I'm going to take Michigan here. They just kind of beat up on these like middling, low-level teams like Illinois. Illinois sliding the last few weeks. I don't think they can get it right, especially at the Big House and a team that could just, I guess, punish you like Michigan. So I bet Illinois barely even scores this game. So I just got to take Michigan.
Yeah, this is tricky. Illinois does have their running back after a couple weeks off, so that will help them. I think this is a look-ahead spot. I also think Michigan does not want to show. They're gonna do as little as possible, show as little as possible before that Ohio State showdown next week. I think Illinois squeaks in and gets the cover. I think they're gritty enough. I think they have enough I think this game is going to be sloppy enough where Michigan just doesn't blow the doors off them like they do most teams.
Weatherman Bobby, we got something crazy going on in Ann Arbor this weekend. I got to look up the weather because it might be a little bit snowy.
Ooh. Yeah, no, I was just saying I thought it was going to be sloppy Yeah,
Oh, it's going to be high of 29 on Saturday.
That's that is Brett Belima weather there, buddy. He thrives in that shit. He's pumped. Yeah,
Oh
okay.
my
I feel even
God.
better about Illinois plus 18. Ty, who do you like?
Yeah, as all three of you guys have said before me, this one is just gross. It's the line is, I think, far too big. It's all the lines this week are just very, sometimes I feel like, oh, this is a very competitive line. And then other times I feel like it's super easy. I mean, obviously I'm 50%, so who knows on my picking, but like USC -2, I think that's an easy decision. This one is difficult. Michigan hasn't really been letting people score on them. Surprised Blake didn't mention it, but obviously the tremendous buy-in to Michigan is it's a brand thing. You have to have that big brand. If TCU had Michigan's schedule, they would be like 7th. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll go with Michigan just because Illinois, they don't really put up points on people. Michigan doesn't really let people put up points on them. And they have turned it on before. They haven't really turned it on a lot this season, but I like Michigan. Hopefully they're trying to make their resume in this one. So give me the Wolverines -18.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so
He's just distracted by the SGA buzzer beater.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander just hit this crazy step back three to win the game.
Second time in a week that he's done that.
Wow, what a shot from Shea. Oh my God. He is so good. 41
Carry on.
points.
Back to college football.
Carry on. Back to college football. Don't make me go back to this sport, please. Oh God. The season's already over pretty much for OU. I'm ready for basketball. I'm kidding.
Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. You have one season where you're not in it. Talk about my life is 7-5 teams, buddy, okay?
Hey man, we're 5-5. To think we get to 7-5 is optimistic. But anyways, look, it's rivalry week, pretty much. So let's move on. Okay, well, no, I have the setup, right? Let's move up to the biggest rivalry in the Big 12 by far. Texas and Kansas.
Yes.
The Longhorns on the road, 9-point favorites at the Jayhawks. Ty, I'll let you kick this thing off. Do the Horns get revenge?
So this one is, like you said, big rivalry game, which is important for Texas because in their 3 traditional rivalries, four actually. They're getting to play A&M again soon, and us at OU, we're moving with them. But unfortunately, Texas does not get to play their other 2 rivals anymore. Those rivals obviously being Kansas and Maryland. But I think in this one, one of their final visits to Kansas, I think the Horns have it in this one. I know Kansas, they had their little spark at the beginning of the year, and then they had that little spark against the Cowboys. Well, probably more than a little spark for them against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. But I think that Texas has this one. I think when you look at all of Texas's losses, it comes down. I mean, obviously you have Bama, the Texas Tech one that's just inexplicable, but then Oklahoma State and TCU, those are both really competitive teams. I think Texas has this one, and I think 9 is a pretty reasonable line. So I like the Horns going up to Kansas, where the Jayhawks are. I don't know the town. I'm sure some of the viewers probably know. Trivia question. But yeah, I think it's a pretty hefty drive. Hopefully they fly. So.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, they're definitely.
I had some sort of Austin. Yeah, I had some sort of Austin traffic joke, but I couldn't get the setup right.
That's all good. It's all good. That was a good try. Here's my thing. This is tricky because essentially Jalen Daniels is going to have to go. He is, according to Lance Leipold, very, very close to coming back. And I'd feel great about that. And apparently Jason Bean's hurt. So I do not trust the Kansas third stringer, but I think they're going to roll with Daniels. And I think he puts Kansas in a good enough position to make this a close game. I think they cover. Texas right now is, from what I see, a little bit of a free fall situation. It appears by all accounts Xavier Worthy is on his way to Los Angeles to play with Lincoln Riley. I think that I think the Frogs kind of broke the horns in half here, like Bane snapping Batman's back. And I don't know. I think Kansas makes this thing interesting. I don't know if they win straight up, but I think they cover 9 points here at home. Blake?
I'm with you, Bobby. I did not lay a single eye on the Kansas-Texas Tech game, but I heard Kansas played a lot better than what the score indicated, and I'm going to trust those sources and go with the Jayhawks here. I think Bobby is right. This Texas team we've seen in the past, they get up for big games, and then they just get beat, or they play close games against these random opponents that they just don't respect. And I know Kansas beat them last year, but this Texas team, it just feels like a whole bunch of mercenaries on that team. Like, nobody actually really cares about the brand. Nobody cares about next year. They're all kind of out for themselves. I do think the TCU loss just broke them. I think Quinn Ewers coming out, not being that good. Their defense coming out, playing their best game, I think, of the entire season, even better than Alabama, and still not being able to get the win. That is rough. That is rough. And I know if they're smart, they just rely on Bijan to win this game, but Texas doesn't seem to be very smart, so give me KU.
Well, I mean, their defense outscored yours in the offense.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You sound like a Texas message board member, Blake, I think everyone on this team is a mercenary who doesn't care about the brand.
They kind of are, though. Like, you just see it. Like, nobody really cares about, like, trying to actually progress Texas, because we see time and time again, they get up for these big games, and then they'll just play, like, a Texas Tech, just a team they don't care about, and then just lose, or, like, get close to losing. Like, West Virginia always plays them close. It's just, they only care about the big games, and they only care if they can draw a big crowd, stuff like that, and I just don't trust them. So 9's enough for me to take the Jayhawks.
Okay, fair enough. Jameson, who you rolling with?
I'm going with the Horns. I think that there's a lot of people betting Kansas here because obviously the history of it. People have seen Kansas time and time again. I guarantee you Texas is getting really tired of that. And if they didn't have motivation after a tough loss last week, I mean, you would hope that they would have a little bit of motivation. Those older guys that have had to go through these Kansas losses in the past and be like, I'm tired of this. I'm just going to
They don't care, Jameson. They don't care. That's the problem about Texas is they don't care about this stuff. They don't get tired of getting 7-5.
I'm telling you, if I'm a junior and I've had to deal with that stuff, I mean, if you're
that's you. Athlete, Texas.
That is all athletes. People who go out and compete. Does not matter what level of like buy-in that you have with a program. You are going to be mad that you've been embarrassed 2 years in a row. And I understand that there's this whole mantra of like, oh, Texas doesn't care. They have the Steve Sarkisian model where I'm just going to just show up and do whatever. Like, that is just for all competitors who play sport. I don't care how much, like, you know, in the background and like how much you care about your team. This is a personal thing. I guarantee it. They're tired of hearing this Kansas talk.
That being said, we saw this team give up last year, like completely give up.
They obviously don't. They don't care about them losing every single year. They don't. You see them just give up. Like, they don't care. They just care about being in Austin, having fun, but they don't actually care about winning football games. I don't think they do.
I mean, that's if I am playing sports at a college level and people saying I don't care about winning football games, I think that's just foolish. I think there's some people that want it more than the other people. They go the extra mile. But if you just say they don't care about winning football game, I just can't buy into that. I guarantee you they're showing up to this game and they're pissed off about the past couple of years. And obviously the momentum might not be the most throughout the season. It might not be the highest because they just had a tough loss and their chances of going to the postseason are slim. But there's still a want to there. I'm going Texas.
That's fair.
I'm with Jameson on this one real quick before we move on. I mean, it's like the same argument as capitalism. You know, who cares if everyone cares about the brands, if everyone's just trying to build their own resume, you know, if everyone is out for their own interest, ultimately that's going to benefit the team. You know, if each individual player is going out there trying to perform, you know, and build their highlight reel and resume, whether it's to abandon ship and transfer or whatever, you know, ultimately you're still progressing the team forward. Because I agree with Blake's argument, but I think it applies to every single game this year with Texas. And I think it's kind of the future of college football. It's just mercenaries.
I think that's fair. But all right, moving on to our next game. We have the Texas Tech Red Raiders Cactus Gang headed up to Ames, fresh off of a, I think, Ty doing his best cactus impersonation for those of you listening on the podcast feed. Texas Tech fresh off of a pretty big win against Kansas in Lubbock. And Iowa State, well, they lost again, but they kind of played OSU. So they're favored by Tree Fitty here. Jameson, do you think they finally like get a solid, or they keep winning at home at Ames, or what's up with this? This is just a weird game.
We have been infiltrated in the YouTube chat again by a bot. Just letting you know.
Oh, not okay. Jameson, girls 6'9" XYZ seems pretty legit to me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, stop banning the bots. Views are views.
Oh no. It won't let me, it's not letting me block the user. Has someone already put them in? I'll put them in timeout. They get a chance. Okay, 6'9" XYZ has been blocked for 5 minutes.
Well, that's just great. I'm gonna move in to pick the team that does nasty things to a bell, and I'm going to go Texas Tech here. Great segue. Texas Tech been playing pretty good the past couple of weeks. Iowa State 3.5. Like what? Like more than a field goal?
What are you talking about? They've been playing good. Texas Tech beat Kansas and then lost to TCU, lost to Baylor. Like they got obliterated by Baylor at Patrick Mahomes' homecoming ceremony.
The Baylor game, no, I'm saying the past couple weeks, as in the past 2 weeks. I think they held it pretty tight with y'all for a couple quarters, and I think they handled Kansas. They did. So I'm going Tech. You can pick side for me. It seems like we're having a lot of disagreeal, and that's a great part about podcasting. Pick the other side. Please.
Yeah, no, Iowa State. I sent it today in our chat that if you just replace their offense from last year with this defense and special teams, Iowa is like a juggernaut. They are a juggernaut.
Interceptions into the freaking field.
Which plays into my point
that is true,
Iowa State is not bad.
That does not help you cover at all. If you took an offense from a different team.
Their offenses. They are not bad. Their offense is so bad that their ranking is so low. But if you gave them just the offense from last year, and let's not remind ourselves of how poorly Iowa State did last year as well, and it would be one of the best teams. Like, are you kidding? That shows how shitty their offense is. Do you think they can keep up with the team?
So
Texas
OU really. So for example, OU really isn't that bad if you just put in Kyler Murray at the quarterback.
Yeah, no, it just shows that Iowa State has pieces. They have a good defense, they have good special teams, which keeps them in games. Texas Tech, Jameson, with this whole, they've been playing good the past few weeks. They're literally in their last 6 weeks, 2-4. They are really not doing that well. Like, Texas Tech is not doing that well. They haven't won a road game this year.
I said couple weeks.
Couple weeks, yeah, 2, and they're 1-1. That's not good. I guess actually that is good for Texas Tech standards. 500 is really good.
They covered versus Kansas, and I think they played it pretty tight for a couple quarters with TCU. Obviously, the TCU game wasn't perfect, and those fourth down stops and like the 20-yard line made things a little bit weird. But they still kept things tight. We watched that first half together. They looked a little bit like that they were like competent. So you can't hit me on this past 2 games. They've looked pretty decent.
I deal in wins and losses. I'm not with these halfway moral victories like Cactus Gang is always talking about. So I'm taking Iowa State. They can't win a game on the road. I still have that Texas Tech under 5.5 wins, and I desperately need it to come through here. So Iowa State, beat them this week, and let's get them the following week. Sooners, give me the Cyclones.
You literally gave a moral victory for Iowa State earlier in the podcast. You talked about how a game that they did not cover in was closer than the score represented. That is
No, I did say the OSU game,
God.
but this year they've been keeping games close, and I will give them that, and that's perfect.
They've
Perfect
been losing.
for covering purposes. That's perfect. But for Texas Tech, it's like they're not even covering. It's like last week they covered, but then like TCU Baylor getting blown out, OSU blown out. Like they just keep on getting blown out. Like
Texas Tech 5-5 against the spread. Iowa State 4-6.
then
Okay.
it will hit this week. Then we'll even the odds. Iowa State's gonna settle the score this week. Texas Tech can't go on the road. They can't.
And
They just can't.
that's no, I think that's actually the point that I kind of am rolling with here, because Tech is not a good road team. Like you said, they haven't won on the road yet. And not only that, but I think Iowa State, they figure it out a little bit more at home. We've seen them play better at home. That, to me, I think this is going to play out very similarly to how Iowa State beat West Virginia in Ames. I think they just kind of put it together and get a good win. Texas Tech just not quite there yet on the road outside of their, I don't know. I believe Tech has only lost one home game, and it was that Baylor game. So like it truly is a tale of two teams. And I expect that to continue in Ames on Saturday. Ty?
I have the Cactus Gang. So I think we've talked about this one way more than it deserves. Give me Texas.
Yes. Yes, we definitely have. It's probably one of the worst games of the slate.
Bobby,
But
what did
Big
you have
12.
again? Sorry, I was trying to multitask.
I had
I
Iowa
couldn't-
State.
I couldn't keep up.
Iowa
Okay,
State
that's what
plus
I thought.
350.
Okay, good. Okay, that's
So-
they're actually minus, so they're the favorite.
Minus 350. Minus 350, my bad.
Okay, cool.
Moving on to our next game. It's the Kansas State Wildcats, minus 7.5, going back to country roads to take on the West Virginia Mountaineers, the team that beat OU last week. So, Ty, kick us off. Who do you like here?
No one. No one is who I like here. This one I think is also way too high. I feel like I have a really weird read on K-State because I only watched them against OU, OSU, and TCU. So I don't know. I'm going to have to go with K-State minus 7.5 here. I think it's very attainable. And I think West Virginia this year is one of those teams that is going to take advantage if you make mistakes. And I think K-State is well coached enough to maybe not put themselves in that situation. So I'm not worried about a K-State loss. I am kind of worried about a backdoor with the hook on this one, but give me the Wildcats minus 7.5.
Yeah, I'm not going to be afraid of the hook here. I like Kansas State here. They're a really good team. They're finding their rhythm. And look, West Virginia is not as good as people think. I know they beat OU last week, but I don't know. That game, I feel like they're overvaluing the Mountaineers here a little bit, maybe a little bit. K-State has the Big 12 title game in just that is right there for them. All they have to do, just go to West Virginia, get a win. I think they do it, especially given the weird 1 p.m. kickoff time. So I think they get it. I think they get the job done. West Virginia already had their happy ending moment last week with beating OU, and they still fired their AD. So yeah, give me the Wildcats here to get the dub and the cover. Blake?
Yeah, K-State has everything to play for. They got to wrap up these last two games in order to make it down to Arlington. So K-State, West Virginia does worry me at home just because we've seen it time and time again this season. They're constantly just being a threat and a pest. But the good thing is K-State went on the road at a good against a pretty decent Baylor team and was able to just run it down their throat. And now they're kind of stuck via injury with Will Howard, which is probably the quarterback they should have been playing this entire time just because of the run and throwing threat that he is. And we saw it on display last week. And the one thing I thought OU did well against West Virginia was they were just able to run it down their throat. K-State does that the best in the Big 12, I think, with Deuce Vaughn and a good running quarterback with Will Howard. I think just K-State has everything to play for. West Virginia has nothing, so give me K-State.
Well, and they're good on the road. Look what they did to Baylor and Waco last week. Just absolute demolition.
Eviscerated them. Eviscerated them. Took them out of the game so early. Like, I feel confident with that, even though I think West Virginia is a little bit harder place to play. I still feel confident.
Fair. Jameson?
Yeah, this is my favorite pick of the slate. Kansas State. I feel pretty good about it. I'm not worried about West Virginia and Morgantown. I'm not worried about West Virginia and Green being their new quarterback. Not worried about it. I think Kansas State handles this and easily.
Yeah. Cool. All right, let's move on to our next game. It's a TCU Horned Frogs -2.5, taking on the Baylor Bears. Did I have the line wrong again? Did I?
No?
No,
Nope,
2.5 is
okay.
like what I've been
Okay,
seeing
we're good on
everywhere.
that one. We're good on that one. Okay, cool. I just saw the 2.5 and was worried that I copied and pasted it too many times.
I thought that was a bit, actually.
No, but the Frogs favored by 2.5 here in Waco against a Bears team that it's just really confusing to figure out. 1 week they go on the road, beat Oklahoma. The next they get blanked by K-State. But you know what? It's a rivalry. And the last time TCU was in a playoff position, they lost right there in Waco, the big old toilet bowl. And that guy right there was in attendance. So I'm just saying, could it happen again? Jameson, your take.
Yeah, I felt good about Baylor last week, like really good about their game versus Kansas State. And 3 points on the offense. I don't know what I can work with that. TCU, extreme momentum versus Baylor, very low momentum. Give me TCU here easy.
Blake, we all know you're a house divided here, clearly, as Ty has told me.
Yeah, I was about to say, insert Ty joke about me going to Baylor, but this one's
That's
easy.
that is not a joke.
Yes, but the way in which you use it is a joke. You
What do
can
you-
use
yes, but-
truth and you can use truth as a joke, but
I wasn't
TCU's
joking. You're a Baylor alumni. Is that a joke to you?
No. But TCU easy. I think all the pros, all the gambling experts, yada, yada, yada. I see them every single week try to go up against TCU's opponent just because they think their power ratings, their fancy little numbers have this team figured out. This team is not defined by numbers. It makes no sense. Like I said, going into the season, I thought TCU was going to be a feisty 6-6 team, but we've somehow exceeded expectations, and now we have hopes to make the college football playoffs. Stop trying to use numbers to define this team, and if you are, use the proper numbers. Number one, strength and record. That's what you should be looking at. This TCU team is proven. Last week should give you even more hope about the Frogs. They win another, just take another style of game and they win it. A defensive battle. This is just shaping up really well for the Frogs. We've won shootouts, we've won close games, we've won defensive battles now. Like, there's so many ways in which we can win the football game, and Max Duggan has not been playing good the past week or two, but let's rely on Miller. Let's get him into the game, because honestly, I think he's one of the best running backs in the country right now that nobody's talking about. So 2.5 makes it pretty easy for a rivalry that TCU has dominated since 2014. We've only lost once since then to Baylor. We've beat them last year, the infamous Chandler Morris game when we were absolute crap and Gary Patterson had been fired. I'm not worried about Baylor. Never have been. Give me the Frogs.
Yeah, I'm rolling with the Frogs here. They've been an absolute wagon this season. I believe best team in FBS against the spread. According to my sources, they're 8-1-1. So they have been on a tear. I'd be a fool not to pick them. And I'm going to pick them. I like TCU. The Hypnotoad shows the way. All hail Hypnotoad. TCU to the playoff. I think they get a big, big win here in Waco. I think they have the right stuff to get there. I'm going to say right now, TCU's making the playoff. Ty?
I do have to. It seemed a little pointed at Blake. Obviously, that is in some ways a joke, although his Baylor alumni status is not a joke. I do appreciate Blake having gone to both schools wearing his Big 12 hat. I know he does it every week, but it's doubly funny when we're picking the two teams he went to just wearing the Big 12 hat.
He's a shield protector.
But yeah, I got to echo everything that everyone has said about TCU. And honestly, I could go on because TCU fits my mold of a perfect college football team right now. I think they're perfectly timed and everything else. I could go on for way too long about this. So I will cut myself down to 1 point, and that's that TCU gets dogged on in the national media by the bigger sports commentators about a lot of their games being sort of scrappy or close. But like Bobby pointed out, still 8-1-1 against the spread. And like Blake pointed out, still undefeated. That's ultimately what matters. If you won every game you ever played by 1 point, you'd still be undefeated and the national champions. And you just have a ridiculous, it doesn't, as long as you win, that's what matters at the end of the day. People are going to look back on this in 20 years and they're going to see 10-0. They're not going to see 10-0, but and from an entertainment perspective, if you're trying to gain fans, if you're trying to get people on the Hypno-Toad train, it gets so many viewers that you have those interesting games that are keeping people in their seats on that channel until the end of the game. I don't understand why ESPN dogs on them. ESPN could not hope for anything better than a game that goes down to the very end and keeps people glued on for their commercials and everything else that sells that pays for their salaries. I love TCU in every respect. Give me the Frogs -2.5 here. I think this is super easy, although I am spooked about just the storyline of Baylor ruining the playoff thing once again.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there. All right, let's move on to the game that somehow is in prime time on ABC.
Woo!
It's Bedlam. The Oklahoma State Cowboys on the road in Norman let's be real. They're coming back. We're not getting out early. But one of the last times they will be playing in Norman against the Oklahoma Sooners in recent memory. And they're ranked. The first time since 2009 that they're ranked and the Sooners are not. But the Sooners are favored by 7. This line looks like it's creeping towards 7.5. We'll see where it goes. But we locked it at 7. So, Ty, kick us off. Do you think the Sooners can, despite all of this, can beat OSU and win Bedlam?
So we did a solid 25 or so minutes on this earlier in the week. As usual, like I say every week for the OU game, I encourage anyone who hasn't listened to go back and listen to that one because we did it much more justice than we will be able to do here. In short, I'm taking the Cowboys +7. This is not a vote of confidence against OU winning. I just think that OSU has so much buy-in. They have so much motivation for this. And I really think that for the most part, a lot of this OU team is just sort of, as we said, mailed it in for the end of the season. And they're just kind of coasting and they've sort of curled up and they're just kind of waiting for the beating to be over. And I think the Cowboys are seeing that and looking forward to exploiting it. And I think they're going to give us everything that they've got. And I think that we absolutely have the weapons to win this game, especially in Norman. But I am very much worried about this being an entire touchdown on the line.
Okay.
So, yeah, that is the end of my... Okay, so no one else is talking. I will say in conclusion, Hideaway Pizza is now a Norman thing. We have twice as many Hideaways in Norman than they do in Stillwater. Therefore, it is ours now. We have taken it via democracy.
That's true.
So does that change your pick to OU?
No. Traditionally, the Hideaway school has been terrible in the game. And now that OU is the Hideaway school, give me the Cowboys.
We are loaded with too much expectation. That's fair. So this is tricky. Because why would I ever give any faith in OU here? After the past 2 weeks, they have shown a complete lack of ability to want to improve on the steps you need to win football games, the details, the minutia, all of that. But at the same time, this Oklahoma State team is beat up. Spencer Sanders, healthy or not, or whatever, he's going to play. But at the same time, I don't think he's going to be the same player. I think the defense is malleable. It's beatable. And ultimately, this is the toughest game on the card for me, by far. Not because I'm trying to pick with my heart or trying to avoid picking against what I want to happen, but because I really don't know what Oklahoma State team will see. Because they were not good against Iowa State. That was not a very good Iowa State team that they beat. And it took I mean, it took Spencer Sanders coming back from the dead for them to beat him. So my thing is, I could very well see the Oklahoma State team we've seen kind of fold at K-State, fold, at Kansas. I could see that version back in Norman. I think they're just in the top 25 because they have 3 losses, and why not throw them up there? But I'm going to go with the Sooners. I think they bounce back. I think the fear of missing a bowl game is so high, and this is the best chance to do it, to get bowl eligibility, that I think they go ahead and get it done. And I think they finally string together that perfect game, that complete game when they actually need it. And it might be wish casting, I don't know, but I'm not picking the damn Pokes here. Sooners -7. As it always is. Go ahead, Blake.
I disagree with your statement that this is OU's easiest chance for bowl eligibility, but
because it's at Tech. Yeah, of course you're going to say that.
I'm spitting facts here, my man. I think that game's going to be a little bit easier for y'all, but
I don't, dude. Okay, look, what's his Joey McGuire said before the season started, well, we're gonna beat OU in the last game of the season, then tear down our end zone or whatever. And now OU's bad. That place is gonna be going through the roof. It's a night game. Like, I'm so scared of that.
All 500 of their fans. Yes, that's gonna be a really intimidating environment.
They show up for OU. They hate us.
Yeah, y'all are usually in the top 10 when y'all are coming in there, not this level. But anyways, this is a rat line. This line makes no sense to me. I guess in a sense it does. OSU falls out, is not in the top 75 in a lot of key categories, whether it's offense, defense. But it's just OSU just feels like the better team, and they always play OU close, I feel like, recently. Or I guess when OSU has the expectations to beat OU, that's when they fail. But I just feel like 7 is way too many points for an OU team that I have no idea what I'm going to get from a week-to-week basis. Every time I think OU's a pretty decent team, they'll come out and lay an egg. And so maybe they get one of those decent performances, but I just feel like rivalry game, Spencer Sanders being back, that keeps it close enough to me that just 7's too meaty. That is too tough of a steak to chew. I ain't going for it, so give me the Pokes.
Fair enough. Jameson, who you got?
I've been back and forth about this. I thought easy Oklahoma State. I thought, you know what? I picked Oklahoma the whole year. Every single spread this year, I've picked Oklahoma. And it hasn't felt good. It's not felt good. I know. I feel like I've done really well in my Big 12 picks this year, but Oklahoma, man, have I done poorly. There's just something just irking me deep down. One of it is obviously my heart. I don't want to go into this game with the slight backwards hedge saying oh, well, at least if OU doesn't do well, I have Oklahoma State. And then the second thing is I got to give it to us. Our offense has played pretty decent at home. Not good on the road. Completely our game plan shifts. Everything shifts. All the play calls, what we do looks embarrassing. Obviously, Jeff Levy plays way more conservative, and I hate it. But at home, he feels more confident, especially versus an Oklahoma State defense. I feel like he'll let it loose a little bit more, get that kind of style of play from Dylan Gabriel where he's actually throwing contested balls like Blake wants to put him more into danger. I think there might be more danger here. And the Spencer Sanders thing is going to give us trouble. It's going to be a high-scoring game. There's going to be a lot of points. I think just OU might squeak it by with 10-point win. I don't like it, but I can see that scenario. But I do worry about a lot of the old guys on OU that probably have checked out and already think about the transfer portal. Just want to get done with this season. But
Jameson, they're athletes. They don't give up. They want to always compete.
That is completely different. That is a completely different scenario. And you do not even want to try to play that game. Yeah, I just talked about a guy who's legitimately saying, I don't want to play for this team anymore versus people on Texas. They're not at that point. They're not at that point. Are you kidding me?
They might be.
They might be, Jameson.
We're in kind of a Tom Herman 2.0 type situation right now. So
I completely disagree with that. I don't think Texas is at that point.
That's fair.
Come on.
Fair. We're just messing with you. I'll say this: if we do get bowl eligible, we should give away a bowl eligibility shirt that that the bowl season Twitter account has been making for all the teams that get bowl eligible. I'm sure everyone would love
Totally
that
into
one.
it.
Yeah,
That'd be a good
giveaway
memo.
to celebrate the time we had to scrap to get into a bowl. Great stuff. All right, that's all we got for the main slate. But primarily because this slate the overall college football slate sucks, we're bringing back the random pick from last week. So, Jameson, do you happen to have the randomizer set?
Yeah, I
You
do. So
do.
here's our DraftKings lines here, and we have a total of, oh man, it's now at 1 out of 5. I'm pretty sure it was like 1 out of like 50. Oh shoot. Now I don't remember the number. What does edit undo? Oh, I think it was at 50. Whatever.
So
If it goes
yeah,
high,
or you
pretty
could just
sure it was
throw in like 60 or 70 and then just wrap the count or something if you're not sure.
because
Just count down from the Friday games.
I had
It's
it.
only
I
gonna
did count. I did count, and I lost my second digit, and it was just at 5. And I'm like, what
No,
was
it's
my
fine.
other number?
Just put in
So-
60 then, and we'll wrap the
Okay,
count.
we're gonna do it
60.
60, and if it goes too high, it goes too high.
It's not going to generate above 10, just like last time.
All right, so I'm up first, which is wonderful. Last week I was gifted with the wonderful Cincinnati bet, which just was a nasty game versus ECU, and I thought there was a chance I could have got it, but that fourth quarter was nasty. So let's see what we get again. And it's going to be 41. You're going to make me count 41 times. This is great podcasting. Didn't take this into account. And here's the problem. I wish I knew how many total there were because I'd count the other way. But we don't know how many total there are. So we got to start at the top. Oh, man.
Bring on
Hey,
the
how much y'all
ducks.
talk,
Feed them
how much y'all
ducks.
talk about something else for a little bit as I count.
Yeah. Okay. So Blake, who's your front runner for the Heisman right now?
Front runner for the Heisman. If I want to go with who's gonna win, it's just gonna be what's his face? God, how can I forget Ohio State quarterback? But it shouldn't be him. It should be Drake May. Drake May all the way. I think he's the best quarterback in the nation right now. He's really slinging it. I think the Heisman has kind of devolved into the best player on one of the best teams, and not the player that means the most to their team. I think Drake May has been the reason why UNC has had one of their best records. Of course, during a year where we thought UNC was going to be irrelevant, because anytime they have expectations, they suck. But Drake May is that good. He is that guy. I think he is way better than CJ Stroud, but it's probably going to Stroud.
Yeah, probably going to Stroud. I personally think Caleb Williams probably is the most valuable player to his team if you go that route, but I don't think the Heisman's so weird with the best player, best team, moniker of it, because that doesn't really work the best at times.
It doesn't. The
they're also probably
criteria
not.
all over the place. It's just all over the place. We don't know what they're actually looking for when they're looking for a Heisman.
That is true. Jameson, what game do you got?
I was looking at the lines. I said, God, that game sucks. I do not want to be close to that. And guess what? It is manifested. Can y'all look at these games? Just take a wild guess which one got picked.
Boise, Wyoming.
No.
Oh, dang it.
I will at least know what to do in that scenario is fade Wyoming. But look at those. Stanford versus Cal. Oh,
You got Cal Stanford?
oh, that hurts. That hurts me.
You got the game.
I do not want to pick that. Oh my God. I watched what Cal did versus Oregon State last week, and that was just not palatable. And what do I even say about Stanford this year? Oh my God, just horrible. God, this
Not
is horrible.
palatable. Yeah, that's a very apt way to describe Stanford football. Man.
I picked the lesser. So I'm going to pick Cal. Screw it. God, that's horrible. This is just a nasty. Oh my God, nasty game. Screw this.
Yeah, that's
Cal minus 4.5.
That's bad. Well, I hope it works for you. But Blake, it's your turn to step up to the randomizer. Let's see what you got.
At least we know what 41 is, so we can count down from there.
Cal minus 4.5, was it?
Yep.
Well, Jameson has adjusted the randomizer.
I have.
Okay.
Yeah, it's at 55 now. I went ahead and counted. All right, Blake, you ready?
Yes, give it to me.
7.
Yes.
Ooh, low
I
Back
number,
love
up
a
low
we
nice
number.
go.
early week game.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ohio State versus Maryland. Ohio State
What's
is
the
a
line on
27.5
that?
point favorite.
Ohio State's
27
favored
and
by
a half.
27 and a half.
Oh, Jesus. I was just. Of course, it comes right after I was bashing CJ Stroud, but for all the casuals out there, I bet he's going to have a huge game. There is no way in hell I am taking Maryland here, just as like a sanity thing. I cannot
I'm
watch
picking
Ohio
Maryland.
State blow their back out and me do absolutely nothing. And so I gotta go Ohio State. That's a dirty number. I hate that. I hate that game. I thought I was gonna get a nice little tasty UNLV action again, but no. I will take.
Well, let's go back
get
to what
lucky
Maryland
twice in
did
a row.
last week. Maryland failed to score a single point versus Penn State last week. Oh my God. What happened to Maryland?
Jesus, I didn't know.
It's
it
just
was
such
that
a
bad.
it's a horrible spot though. Like the week before Michigan, Ohio State. I hate it. I hate
They
this.
only
but-
scored 10 points to Wisconsin the week before. And the week before that, they only beat Northwestern by a touchdown. Like, that is a skid. Because I thought Maryland was supposed to be kind of a scrappy team this year.
They were in the beginning, but
Like, surely, what is it? Mike Loxley? He's gonna get fired, right? Like,
I don't
he has to be on the
know.
block, right?
I don't know. That program's just I don't know. Like, what else do you expect from him? That's my thing. Is like, Maryland football? What do you expect to come out of that program? Because you're
That's
kind of stuck right now, especially with the division still being there.
Hey, I led them to greatness in NCAA 2003, so anyone can do it. But, anyways, my turn. Let's see what we got.
All right, yes, and once again, we are not doing this the smart way, but this is the fun way. It's a random generator gets 7 again. What do you know? We're gonna
What?
What do y'all want to do with this on the spot?
No,
Three,
no,
four,
no,
You gotta do
No,
it.
just
You
regenerate. Just
No,
regenerate.
boo.
That's not fun.
I'm kind
Wasn't it
of
just
back
on
and forth
7?
on this.
First,
I think I'm gonna say do it again.
No,
I
he
don't,
definitely
I don't
did
want
do
to.
it.
This
I like
game.
regenerate. I like regenerate.
Yeah, it should be different. days.
Regenerate.
I'm a-
Let's get it for everyone.
33.
All right,
Ooh.
feeding
So let's
the-
go
Mike
to
Muscala
41. Let's go to
I'm a
41.
traditionalist. When I was rolling the dice that one year, I never said, "Ooh, I don't like that matchup. Let me roll again."
But that's
There
I-
were two
that's
people
not the
rolling the dice,
situation.
Blake.
That's the way of the dice. That's the way. You just gotta go by the ebbs
That's
and
not the
flows
way
of the
of the
river.
dice.
Oh
Never how it's
yeah,
done.
Bobby.
do I got?
ULM plus 14 and a half going to Troy.
Oh, buddy, ULM Troy with a
Pick
tasty hook.
ULM.
Oh God, I have not been following up with my ULM Warhawks recently.
Wait, give him a
let's-
little. Actually, don't give him a rundown.
They're
He
4
has
and
to do his own
6.
research.
All right, they're 4 and 6. They're best known for making everybody hopeful about Quinn Ewers. So they have that, which is nice. Jeez, yeah, no. Oh wow, that's gross. That is gross. Here's the thing, Troy's not that bad. Like they've had their moments. They took Appalachian State to the wire. Jeez, I'm sorry, I'm scrambling here big time. But they also only scored 10 points against Army. Oh my God. Okay, no. Here's my move. I'm gonna go with ULM plus
3.
it's ULM plus 14 and a half because Troy's
Oh,
strength is
boy.
not Troy's strength is not scoring points here. They are not an offensive football team at all. Just given like a quick glance. Because here's the thing. Look, they're 8-2. They win games, but at the same time, they just flat out don't score enough to cover that. Like I'm just going down the line here at some of these wins. 16 they beat Marshall 16-7. Beat our boys Western Kentucky 34-27. Beat Southern Miss 27-10. Boco, they beat them 17-14. South Alabama 10-6. Raging Cajuns 23-17, and then they beat Army by 1. They cannot. I don't think they physically can win a game by that much. So give me ULM plus 14. Love the hook there. I think that's tasty. So I feel very confident about that. Now I did my research.
Expert opinion, Blake. What do you think about ULM? Because they've been kind of feisty recently.
Yeah, ULM may be a little bit feisty, but Troy, I think, is probably the best team in the Sun Belt this year. Like, maybe like now that Grayson McCall has gone down for Coastal Carolina, I think this is their conference to lose. And if you're gonna go with Bobby's can't cover methodology, ULM played Army this year and they lost 48-24. Like this, it can get bad. This ULM team can be really, really bad. And I know they're still in contention for a bowl game, but you're probably like with Troy and Southern Miss left on the calendar, two competent teams. It's gonna be a sweat, Bobby. It's gonna be a sweat.
It's definitely not ideal. I mean, that's part of the randomized. The randomizer will give you these crap scenarios. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling Troy. And not only that, but I feel like in the Sun Belt, like betting the dog tends to work out in your favor sometimes. It's just it's a wonky conference.
It's going to be one of those games that if Troy gets up like 28-0 in the first half, you're just going to feel like an idiot just because it's like, why did I bet on this such bad ULM team?
Exactly.
You might be going through it. You might be going through it on this game, but
that's kind of what I did with Coastal on my wild card. So, anyways, that's probably enough Sunbelt talk for the pod. But Ty, your turn to roll.
It is. Well, Jameson does it for me. Let's see what we got.
Still.
45.
Ooh.
So what was Cal's? 41, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
45 for the boy.
42, 43, 44. Oh, Boomer Sooner. We're going to have to re-roll. It was the OSU OU Bedlam game.
Give me OSU again. Pad the 26. 26.
All right. What was Bobby's game? 33, correct?
Yes.
Was it? Was it 31?
Oh, great. Notre Dame versus Boston College. Minus 20.5 is the spread for Utah.
20.5 is a lot. Let me turn off feeding the ducks. 20.5. That is a lot. I already know what's going to happen. I know what I'm going to do, and I know what's going to happen, and it's going to be the exact same thing that's happened every single time that I've picked a Notre Dame game this season, whether I've been with them or against them. One time I picked them. I was like, certainly they got this, and then they lost to like Marshall or someone. And then another time I thought they were going to get exposed. I have not picked correctly a Notre Dame game all season. Give me the Fighting Irish. Out of spite, I shall pick them in hopes that supporting them will cause them to fail to cover. I don't think they're in an upset alert in this one at all, but I like their uniforms. They have better branding, better uniforms. So give me Notre Dame minus 20.5 against the Boston College Bruins.
Shout out to Boston College, though, and that's funny.
Is that what they're called?
Boston College last week.
They're the
shout out.
They're the Eagles. Yeah.
Okay.
Shout out Boston College.
Anyways,
beating NC State. Honestly, just completely
Wild.
blew my mind. Did not see that because this is a team that lost to UConn this year. They put up 3 points versus UConn. And I understand UConn's coming back. They put up 3 points versus UConn, and they ended up beating NC State.
It's baffling. That NC State team is so weird because I mean we all faded them against Wake Forest. They beat Wake Forest and then lose to BC, who is awful. So that was almost on the slate last week. But
speaking of the random game generator, we need to stop using a bootleg generator that keeps spitting out the same numbers.
Good old random.
No, as high school taught me, random.org is one of the best because it randomizes like via radio frequency or something like that. There's like some mathematics behind why random.org is like the superior random number generator.
Why it gives us 2 7s in a row.
But that can happen. That can happen.
We need a less janky way of looking up the games, is what we need.
Yeah, I did want to point out though, my brilliant random game last week when I was fortunately by the college football gods given Purdue, who I picked minus 6.5, which they covered, And then come to find out hours after the game, it was actually Purdue plus 6.5. So I certainly covered that as well.
That is true. That is true across the board.
we made Ty sweat through this game that took like 30 minutes to do 2 minutes because of like injuries and everything, hoping that Purdue would cover the 6.5, but they were covering the whole time no matter what.
That's so funny. That's so funny. All right, it's time for my favorite pick of the week.
Why aren't the brakes working?
Because I cut the brakes! Wild card, bitches!
All right, we can't stop this van. Ty, kick us off. Who do you have?
A long time ago in a college town far, far away. Many years ago, in the beginning of the Schooner Pod, when the college football gods bestowed upon the earth the curse that is the Schooner Pod's The Weekend Spread, I, Ty, went digging into what my other hosts will call the crumbs. And in the crumbs, I found a team that there was just something about this team that I had to pick them. So I brought them up on a wild card and I picked them. Little did I know, I had just introduced an invasive species into the podcast. And that invasive species is Jameson. I think he's trying to talk to me.
I hate you.
That invasive
Don't do
species
this.
is the bobcat. The Texas
Oh my God, I
State
hate you so much.
Bobcats.
I hate you.
Minus 5.5
I
against
hate you.
the Arkansas State Red Wolves.
Oh my God, I
Both
hate
teams
him.
pretty evenly matched against the spread. Texas State 5-5, Arkansas State, I believe 6-4. So more or less the same. Texas State has kept it close in many of their games. They've lost to a lot of not good teams like Troy, like Southern Miss, like UL Monroe. Everyone they've lost to is not good. But they really, outside of Baylor, haven't really let one. Well, in James Madison, that was kind of weird. Give me the Bobcats. The Bobcats are perfect to pick. I had to reintroduce them back into the podcast because we went too long without picking them. And if I lose, then it's just funny. Oh, that's Texas State for you. But if I win, I get my co-host hooked on picking them again. And they only hit every now and then. You can tell by Jameson winning this one that the iron is hot. It is time to strike on this Texas State team. Give me Texas State.
I had this game circled for like 4 or 5 weeks to pick. I said, I'm going to wait till Texas State gets back at home. I'm loving this one because I think Arkansas State trash. I think Texas State plays so much better at home. I had this game scheduled for so long. No, I'm not picking the same wild card. I'm aborting ship. Good job. You just spoiled Boko for me, man. Oh, my God.
Jameson, we picked the same wild card earlier this year.
We do it every week. Oh wait, no, it was also Boko.
I picked one and I just hated it. It just didn't feel right. I like when everyone has different ones, and I'm just aborted on that. Ty has probably picked about 4 of my wild card picks that I've wanted, and luckily he saved me from a couple of them. But still, this one hurts because I legitimately had this one planned for about a month.
Wow, that's tough to see it. Tough to see it. All right. I'm going to go with a little bit of a team that we were talking about earlier that I think they're spiraling out of control. They were down bad last week. Rock bottom, but not rock bottom enough to kick them out of college football.
Are you picking A&M?
No. Of course not. Look, the NC State Wolfpack, not great, but they're still 24th in the college football playoff, right? Well, as Blake has taught me, I've seen the light. It is nothing but a bunch of sheep feed, and I'm rejecting it, throwing it in the face of Stephen A. Smith, and rolling with the Louisville Cardinal -4 at home. Malik Cunningham is considered day-to-day. If he is back, I think Louisville rolls big at home. Obviously, not a great game against Clemson on November 12th. That would be last weekend. But this team's kind of figured it out a little bit since their narrow loss at Boston College, narrow loss against Florida State, and then they got blown out by a really resurgent Syracuse team. this is a team 6-4. Yeah, not great, not ideal, but I think Cunningham and the Louisville Cardinals, they're hot, they're cold, but I think at home they pull off the victory at the formerly the stadium formerly known as Papa John's Stadium. So Papa's Day of Reckoning, it's happening right now, and it's happening to the NC State Wildcats. Oh, sorry, Wolfpack. Jeez, Blake, go ahead. Who's your Wildcat? That was who's your wild card? That was really bad.
Who's your wild
I had forgotten how to speak. Good Lord.
Bobby, I love that pick, but if Malik Cunningham does not come back, you are going to be in a world of hurt, just like your Coastal Carolina pick after you made it with the information of Grayson McCall being out in the ether. It wasn't like it came out after. It was out there. You just
I should have won that game. I got backdoored.
You shouldn't have won that game because you are foolish. You made a foolish choice with bad information, and that's fine. I struggle with the wild
covered by like 2 points, by the way.
What?
They only missed a cover by like 2 points.
Yeah, they still didn't cover, my man. That's all that matters when it comes to this competition.
I thought they were going to get clobbered, though.
As a reminder to the listeners, Bobby is the king of quality losses on this podcast. He'll remind you every single week about how all of his losses are wins. But going back to the well here, last game on the slate, the glorious number 55, as we now know. Give me UNLV minus 11 on Island. I don't care. This team has been a cover machine for me. I haven't lost a UNLV bet yet. I'm not going to start now, especially during this critical time of the season when the 999 is lurking above all of our heads. Nobody wants the 999. It hasn't come up in a while, but remember, 3 weeks. In that last week, it's a shortened slate, so it's coming up close. It's coming up close, but I'm going to take UNLV on Island. Hawaii has been a cover machine this year as well, but I like those unstoppable forces versus immovable objects type games, and I'm taking UNLV. We're going to make a bowl this year. We're 4-6. Just need this win and then a win against next week versus Nevada. Don't know the line yet. Probably going to be picking that as well. Give me the Rebs.
He's just been running with the Rebs. All right, Jameson, who do you like?
I'm mad. I really was going to do it, Bobby. I was going to pot agreed Boca. I was going to. And I'm so angry about it. So no pot agree this week. We'll just have to stick with my wild card. And we're just going to walk on.
You're gonna have to use it next week.
This is like
you're gonna have to.
Time.
Like
You've said this exact line like 5 times in a row now.
Okay, fine. I'll use my third. No, I don't want to pick this one. I'll wait till next week. I'll find something else. Oh God, I'm not a procrastinator. I promise. I'm just okay. Here's my pick, and I think Blake will like this one. Georgia going to Kentucky, only 22.5 point favorites. I think Georgia just might slam them. Absolutely just slam them into the ground. 22.5, too tiny for me. I feel like that's easy money. I felt really good about this one. Give me Georgia minus 22.5. Thought about Ole Miss minus 2.5 going to Arkansas. I watched a lot of that Arkansas LSU game. Arkansas's defense kept it close with LSU, but just they know KJ Jefferson, him being hurt, just their offense, Arkansas's offense, just very. And even though Ole Miss lost a lot of momentum with that Alabama game last week, they looked pretty good. So I'm gonna stay away from that game because that game versus LSU was just nasty, and I'm just gonna stick with Georgia here.
Okay, last call to not get stuck with only picking 1 week for your pot agreed.
Well, we do have championship week.
Championship week
there's
includes all the championship
games.
All the games.
Well, I guess we'll be seeing us next week.
All right.
God, oh my God, 999's coming up so fast.
I know.
It
is closer than it appears. Like every game is crucial.
For
and not
everyone's
only that,
happiness,
but
I want Bobby just to tank it this week. Like
I need it.
What has he got up? Oh,
Me
Bobby,
too. I need it more than anyone else. Trust me.
I'm trying to compare. Okay, let's look at our picks this week.
Bobby and Ty are opposite on
Utah
everything.
ties Oregon. I have UCLA ties USC. I have Illinois ties Michigan. I have Texas ties Texas. I have Iowa State ties Texas Tech. We agree on K-State. We agree on TCU. But then OU-OSU, and then obviously random.
Oh my God!
Every
This
time
is the week. It's
every
society.
time we do that,
It's
we're
been,
just all completely opposite on everything, and then it's a wash.
Yeah.
it's gonna wash.
It never
It's
is.
gonna wash.
Nobody ever gains like a 6-point advantage in a week. It's always 3-3. Like you're just back to where you started.
You're just looking for like this Titanic win one way or the other, and then it's just like
the random
mush.
game generator is, I think, certainly helping, because that's how I pick all mine, just shooting from the hip. So you guys are not used to it. That's why I've done so well with it.
Okay, I will say it also brings up some interesting points because usually it's like Blake and Jameson side and then me and Ty side on something, but now it's like kind of random. It's kind of jumbled up. So I could see this being a week where things get really close across the board, where
I hope
it's not
so.
just me on the line.
Yeah.
It's not just me and Ty on the line for 999. It's like everybody's in the mix. So we'll
I'm
see.
just trying
Bring
to
us
get
down
to
to
a
the
spot.
level of the
I'm trying to get to a spot where we get to championship week and I can just have somebody let the lapped cars through and I can just coast on out of there.
There you go. There you go. All right, guys, great show. So always fun picking. I'm feeling the heat. I'm feeling the pressure. I think we all are, but yeah. So all right, hey, thank you all for listening all the way through this excellent podcast on the Weekend Spread. And thank you to our sponsors at DraftKings Sportsbook and TPPN. We really appreciate y'all. And again, if you're in an area where you can get DraftKings Sportsbook, make sure to use our promo code TPPN. Get some great deals there. So, all right, folks, that's all we got. We'll see y'all next time, and good luck out there.